What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. Want to thank my sponsor, Steel Supplements. Go over to the website, having a great 4th of July sale this weekend. And also, Weeble, if you didn't look at my community tab, no better time to join. They are doing an incredible promotion only until July 20th. You get a free stock value between $300 and $300 just for opening an account. But if you deposit $5 or more, they're going to give you another stock value between $8,000 and $2,000. Let's say you join, you make that $5 minimal deposit, you're guaranteed at least $8 back. You can sell those shares and buy yourself a fractional share now of Tesla, Apple, Facebook, AMC, whatever you want. Worst thing that's going to happen, you're going to put in $5 and withdraw $13, but you have to use my link to do it. And I was on Twitter today. There's a lot of things going on Twitter today. A lot of drama that I'm not going to bring up in this post, but Mole at EA actually said this was one of his favorite features of Madden, and this had kind of slipped through the cracks for me a little bit. I go and look at this, and I'm honestly quite impressed, if this is true. If this is something they've worked on, because, this is a lot to get out of Madden. So they had teased the catching controls this year and more control going upfield. Now, granted, every year EA sells us more control, more control, more control. And if we had more control every time they said we had more control, there'd be a game that didn't have any animations. But if you look at what they're saying here deep down, they have made changes to decrease the frequency of multiplayer catches. And as we all know, the multiplayer catch was the defensive back and wide receiver joint animation, where once that was triggered, you had no control of the defender, and we saw all those plays where the defender would just fall to the ground, and then before the animation could complete, other players would come in and couldn't do anything. A lot of my Madden highlights this year were actually because, contextually, you had these catches that could not have animations branch onto them. So, if EA is listening, and they're basically come out and saying, listen, we're removing these, and we're going to make sure that tackles are respected during the course of a catch, and that you don't have to rely on specific animations to have the correct outcome of a play. Now, hopefully that's defense and offense. Then that's a big thing. And this is honestly a lot to program out of the game. If you've played Madden for even a quarter, you know that these in-air, mid-air, two players go up for the ball catches are so common. So this is something where you're removing, I would have to think, thousands of animations. And if you're not putting animations back in, or you're putting new animations that are just single, that's something that is really going to have an impact on this game. It's interesting. One of the things I really was told last year is that EA internally knew it would be an awful game. They were prepared for everything, including the user score. But they were going to redeem themselves with Madden 22. And a lot of the things that we see them doing appear to be going down that path. They're making a conservative effort at franchise. They're going in and trying to make games feel unique through the stadiums. They're obviously taking one of the most hindering things out of the game as far as the catching. So I know a lot of it comes with a grain of salt, but at the same time, we also have to see this in action, because my fear is this. If they've really done these things and they've made all these changes, why are we not seeing this in gameplay? I've watched gameplay. I've seen gameplay. I've played the beta. Why are we not seeing this currently? That's a real concern that I have. Now, I understand, and I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt of it's just the beta. I won't so much give the benefit of it's just the trailer. Because again, even the worst movies have capable trailers. There's no way they couldn't put together a trailer that would sell this game to you when they can control everything. Do we understand that? Do we understand that EA can actually control everything in terms of the trailer? They could go and actually create scenes that they could record to highlight those 1 in a million things. The Odell Beckham catch. Remember when that was a big deal? They were able to go in and trigger that animation. It's still in the game now. I'm sure a lot of you don't see it because it's very rare when it triggers. It's still in the game now. They can control those things. So it's interesting that they're coming out and saying these, developers of the game are coming out and citing this is what's most important, and yet we're not seeing any real context to how it's being done. And the other thing is going to be, how is the tackling system going to play into this? Because that's the other challenge with these animations. I really wish we could work to get animations out of the game, but if we can't do that, limiting the animation dependency and then having more animations to branch onto the players once they come back down is going to be key. The other part of this is you have to untie the ball from the animation. Because what we learned so many times, even go back to my critique of the trailer, when the player goes up for the catch and that animation hits, there has to be something that makes every catch animation also the availability of being dropped. Because far too often, we're seeing catches where, think back to Madden's in the past, players' hands go through each other's bodies. The ball goes through and shifts through a part of the player. Like, these are things that have to stop. And I don't know if that's the next step of this, but it seems logical that it would be. In getting back to core, basic, fundamental gameplay. Back to the point that I made yesterday. EA is standing by this. 80% of games are played offline. Which, all the MUT, all the cards, all the packs aside, if you've got only 20% of your games being played online, 20% MUT, I don't understand why the focus hasn't been on gameplay for the longest time. I mean, I know last year was a strange year for a lot of people, and I know it impacted people's time in playing the game, and perhaps people played the game more than they had been or more than they normally would. Let's also not forget there was a lot of sales last year of this game, but the fact that they know 80% of people are playing this game offline, and for the most part, we also know those people have probably one of the worst experiences of all gamers. The franchise mode had to have so much done because it is so shallow. All these subtle changes they're making in gameplay, all these changes they're making in presentation, all these changes they're making from stadium to stadium, it's all derivative of trying to make teams and games feel unique and independent of each other. Because for decades, it seems, this game has been the biggest proponent of every single game feels the same. Right? Every team feels the same. Every player feels the same. You bring in a free agent. You bring in a star player. You trade for a veteran. None of it really seems to matter. And to that point, someone mentioned earlier today, and I would love to know your guys' opinion on this. In the Madden podcast, when they talked about the fatigue, they said that in the background is where you would have the practices being ran. Now, someone perceived that as meaning in the background of the game you're actually looking at. So in the background, you would see the practice in half pads, full pads, no pads. Now, I perceive that to be in the background, meaning like your actual user interface background. Whereas the games that simulate in the week that you don't play, that runs in the background and you don't see them. So I don't recall seeing anything like that in the beta. Would you guys want to sit there and watch your digital team digitally practice? And should they have different digital outfits to digitally do that? I don't know. But it is an interesting concept if that's something they're going to put into the game. Other than that, listen, you guys have a happy and safe holiday weekend. Enjoy your day off work. And I will be back in the week with more commentary.